Hi there, so today's lesson we are going to look at place value. So you should have done place value before at primary school and perhaps in year 7 so far. But we're just going to look at some of the basics just to make sure we are 100% confident we know what we need to be able to do. So place value is all about how much digits are worth within a number. So what we have here are place value headings. So hopefully you will have seen these before and you'll be able to tell me what all of these place value headings stand for. There are obviously some more. There's some bigger numbers to the left and there's some smaller numbers to the right. We're just going to look at these central few here. So I'm going to ask you to pause the video and I'm going to ask you to try and name all of those headings. Give yourself 1 minute to name those headings and then restart the video. Well done. Let's see how many you've got right. So starting from the left, working our way towards the right. We've got 10,000s, thousands, hundreds, tens, units, the decimal point, tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths, and 100,000ths. And I've also put next to each of those wordy answers how it's written as a number. Did you get all of those right? Let's have a look at how we use these place value headings with a number. Here I have a huge number that actually uses all the digits from 0 to 9. We're going to look at how those fit in a place value chart and how we can then name each of those numbers. If I put those digits into our place value chart, they look like this. Now I can easily say what each digit in that number represents. So for example, the 5 is worth 5 10,000s or 50,000. The 6 represents 6,000. The 4 represents 400. The 8 represents 8 tens, or we can say 80. The 9 represents 9 units, or we can just say 9. The point is always the decimal point, and we can't ignore that. The 2 is worth 2 tenths, or 0.2. The 3 is worth 3 hundredths, or 0.03. The 0 is worth 0 thousandths, or 0.000. The 7 is worth 7 10,000ths, or 0.0007. And the 1 is worth 100 thousandths, or 0.00001. So let's look at some slightly simpler examples now we've looked at all the different possibilities with those 10 different digits. Here I have 6 numbers and the question for each one is what is the value of the 6 in the example. So here I have the number 56. If I take my place value chart and rather sneakily place it over the top, the decimal point always goes at the end of the whole number. So there's nothing after the decimal point in this question, so I line the decimal point up with the end of the number. The number 6 here is in the units column, so I'm going to write that this is worth 6 units. I'll just move that out of the way. Or I can just write it is worth 6. If I do the same with number 2 and line up the decimal point at the end of the number here, I can see this time the 6 is in the tens column. So this one is worth 6 tens, or the quick way of writing it is 60. For number 3, if I line them up with the decimal point at the end of the number, I can see that the 6 is in the hundreds column. So for number 3, the 6 is worth 600. Or 600. For number 4, line the decimal point up with the end of the number. I can see that 6 in the middle is in the tens column. So again, that one is worth 6 tens, or 60. Then 5 and 6 are probably actually easier because I can line the decimal point up in the correct place. If I line the decimal point up, I need to make my grid a little bit smaller to fit them all in. Just about. I can see my decimal points are lined up here, and my 6 is under the TTH, which was tenths. So I can call that 6 tenths, or 0.6 is the quick way of writing it. And my last example over here, again, if I line up the decimal point, that's the important one, I can see that my 6 on the right hand side is under the TH column, which is 10 thousandths. No, it's not, it's thousandths. Sorry, that would be TTH. It's in the thousandths column. It's hard to say. So this would be 6 thousandths, or 0.10 hundredths thousandths. Whew, some of those are a bit tricky. So we've had a look at some examples. Now I want you to have a go. So in a second, I'm going to ask you to pause the video, and I want you to go into the classwork section of Google Classroom, and I want you to find task 1, what's the digit worth? And I want you to have a go at those questions. For each one, you need to choose from the multiple choice what the digit 5 is worth in each question. Give yourself about 2 minutes per question, and if it helps, use a piece of paper and write the number under some column headings. Pause the video and have a go. How did you get on? Did you do good? Brilliant. So if you would like to, there's an extra task that I have uploaded for you, which is this colouring by numbers. You can save this on your iPad and use the edit tool in pictures to colour in this picture. The number that is underlined, however much that is worth, tells you what colour to colour in. So for example, this number here, 6002, the number 6 has been underlined. I know that that is in the thousands column. So reading the instructions at the bottom, that needs to be coloured red. If you want to, have a go at colouring that in using the key at the bottom and upload your finished picture onto the classroom. The next thing we need to look at today is how we can write numbers as words using the correct terminology and the correct spellings. Here I have 4 examples of numbers written out using words. I'm going to use my knowledge of place value to write out these numbers. This should be a lovely, simple task for us. The first example says 470. I don't want to make the mistake of writing 470. Because now if I look at that number, that says 40,070. So let's be careful and make sure we're using our place headings carefully. 4 goes in the hundreds column, and 70 goes in the tens column, 470. That's the first number. The next one is almost the same, but it says 740. So really for this question, all I need to do is put 7 in the hundreds column and 40 for the tens column. Two very similar numbers when written down in words, but very different in numbers. Example number 3 is slightly different. This one says 447. For this one I have a number in the hundreds column, the tens and the units. So for this one I have a 4 in the hundreds column, a 4 in the tens column and a 7 in the units column. 447. The final example is 700,400. This one's a little bit tricky. We need to think about our column headings and how we're going to use them. The 7 needs to go in the hundred thousands column. In fact, I'm going to use my column headings to help you. I'll make this a little bit bigger so we can see quite clearly what we need to do. So the 7 goes in the hundred thousands column. Haven't even got a column for that, that goes all the way over here. And the 4 goes in the hundreds column. Then zeros go everywhere else. So I have a 0 in the 10,000s, a 0 in the thousands, a 0 in the tens, and a 0 in the units. I can put a 0 after the decimal point as well, but I don't need to. So the number 700,400 looks like that. 700,400. Really tricky, that one is. So the video will end in a moment, and I would like you to have a go at the next task, which is called Task 2, Numbers and Words. It's in the classwork section of the Google Classroom again. If there's anything you are struggling with, please send me a message and I will do my absolute best to help you. If you don't like the score that you get, you are always welcome to have a second or third try if you know that you can improve. All this work needs to be done by Friday, please, so do your absolute best to get it finished. Have a lovely week and I'll speak to you next Tuesday.